On this episode of America's Forests, we journey to South Carolina. The forests here are rich with history, tales that begin with the freeing of the slaves at the end of the Civil War.
When asked as an enslaved person, what do you want if you're set free? He said land.
Across the state, African-American landowners are turning lands that they've inherited into productive, profitable tree farms.
We have about 6 stands, so we have a lot of work to do.
The result is a stronger community and a stronger economy.
These landowners can unearth the potential in their land and make it work for them.
Trees are paving the way for a bright future.
It's been the best thing that has ever happened to me.
It's good to be a tree farmer.
That's good to be a tree farmer. All right, man.
Join me as I get to do 2 of my favorite things: play music and plant trees. Perfect. Woo, you're a good tree planter. Hi, I'm Chuck Leavell. You know, in addition to my beautiful family, there's 2 things in my life that I have a special interest in and love for: music and trees. My wife, Rose Lane, and I own and manage our own forest land right here in Georgia, Shoreline Plantation. We grow southern yellow pine as well as other species here. And you know, as I get to travel the world with the Rolling Stones or some of the other artists that I'm so privileged to work with, I get to meet all kind of folks that also have a passion and love for trees, forests, and the outdoors. And now I get to share their stories with you. So join me as we journey through America's forests.
Yes, I'm going back down in South Carolina, going down there to stay.
Welcome to the low country of South Carolina. These forests are filled with beautiful longleaf and loblolly pines, but they're not just wonders of nature, because you see, they connect the land to the people, to their past, to their present, and to the future.
My name is Joseph Hamilton, and most people call me Joe. We're here in Colleton County, Green Pond, South Carolina. I grew up here. I am a country boy in the sense that I love the soil. I love the trees, the openness. What I love about being a tree farmer is the sustainability. It produces, and it is a product that not only I can use, but all American and all people can use.
Becoming a tree farmer is a dream that I can certainly relate to. But for Joe, the journey was filled with legal obstacles.
I knew my family had ownership of this fairly large tract of land. I just did not know whether we had paperwork to show ownership of it.
Oftentimes, inherited land is passed down from generation to generation without a will or without legal proceedings. And because of that, some families have had to fight in the courts for years to prove that their land is legally and rightfully theirs. For Joe, the first step of proving ownership led to the Colleton County Registry of Deeds, where land records go back to just after the Civil War. All right, so where's this book you were telling me about?
All of these just records of deeds and whatnot. But here's my book that I'm telling you about. This is the book.
Wow, look at all this.
Yeah.
Joe, you've done a tremendous amount of research into your family history, so tell me about it.
Well, you know, I was still working with the Department of Defense, and I realized that we were living on heirs' property, and something had to be done because with heirs' property, it's for lack of a better description, it's a quagmire.
Heirs property, according to us at the Center for Heirs Property Preservation, is land that has been passed down without a will, or the loved ones of the deceased individual did not probate their estate within the time allotted by state law. And therefore, the heirs end up owning the land jointly. It's like shares in a corporation. They don't own a piece of the land, they own a share.
The best example is a pie. Beautiful pie, cut into several slices. You can just never lift your piece out of that pie pan. You can look at it, you can show other people the pie, your slice, but you can never use it, nor taste it, nor enjoy it.
Joe spent 3 full years researching the chain of title for his land. It took him that long to find the missing piece of the puzzle. Joe, who was Steve Cunningham? I see his name right here.
He's my great-grandfather.
Wow.
You know, Stephen Cunningham was born an enslaved person. I looked at some of the history associated with this because what I was doing, I was building a case. I'm basically doing paralegal work without paralegal training. And then I started doing the research, and then I came across one gentleman. His name was Dr. Thomas Lenning. And I remember as a child, my parents would refer to the area where we lived as Lenning. This document here really showed the transaction that took place. Dr. Thomas Lenning conveyed that property over to Stephen Cunningham in 1874.
1874.
But if this former enslaved person, no education, could see the value of land, it would be a travesty if I did not pursue this.
Joe's story is all too common among African American families. Some freed slaves were allotted land after the Civil War thanks to General Sherman's Special Field Order 15, which came to be known as 40 acres and a mule. But the compensation of land did not endure.
After the Civil War, to whom were they going to turn? There weren't any lawyers of color, so who could they trust to actually help them take care of their affairs? Didn't trust the system because the system had proven that it shouldn't be trusted. And then there's the whole issue of lack of knowledge. Low-income folk usually don't sit around the dinner table and talk about estate planning.
I always quote the gentleman Garrison Frazier, who had a conversation with Mr. Stanton, who was the Secretary of War under Abraham Lincoln, and General William Tecumseh Sherman, when asked, what do you, as an enslaved person, what do you want if you're set free? He said, land. Give us land, we will work it, we will acquire more land, and we will make it productive. So that is the fire in the belly that I come to the table with. Give me the land or show me how to acquire that land, and I will make that land produce.
For some families, proving that they own the land is just the beginning of a long journey. Making that land productive is the next big step.
When we were children standing at the head of this road, the trucks would fly by loaded with logs. I would wonder, how did those logs get on that truck? And where were they taking them?
Forests have been an integral part of South Carolina's history and economy, from pine tar to turpentine to paper. During the late 1800s, there were 31 sawmills in Sumter County alone. By the end of World War I, most of South Carolina's virgin timber was depleted, and some thought the industry was finished. Luckily, by the 1930s, interest in reforestation and sustained yield helped bring the industry back from the brink. Today, trees are the #1 cash crop in South Carolina.
You know something else I found out? You don't just get lumber out of trees. They had
much
diaper
more.
products.
Oh,
They
yeah.
had doors.
Chewing
They had-
gum.
Yeah, chewing gum. There's all sorts
cleaning
of
products.
That's it. Coming
yeah.
from trees.
Even though African Americans owned a significant percentage of the land, most were not benefiting financially from the profits generated by the lumber industry.
For South Carolina, forestry is a $21 billion industry. There hadn't been a good relationship with this industry with African Americans. Oftentimes, the land is not seen as an asset, it's seen as a liability. It's because people have spent their lives working for the land to maintain it, rather than the land working for them and generating some income.
But the ultimate goal is for you to learn about forestry as a whole, to understand the mechanics around why you should manage your land.
That's where organizations like the Center for Heirs Property Preservation come in.
The timberland index climbed by an average of 15%. The point to this slide is to show to you that you don't only need to invest in the stock market, you should invest in your timberland.
We're providing either the legal services or the forestry technical assistance that these landowners can unearth the potential in their land and make it work for them.
We thank you right now, God. And we ask these things in your holy Son, Jesus' name. Hallelujah! Hallelujah! Hallelujah!
Monk's Corner is home to Yvonne Knight Carter. And like me, Yvonne is a musician first who had to learn how to become a tree farmer. She's the organist and choir director for the Greater Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church, and she graciously let me sit in.
When I retired and came back here, you know, I looked back there and there were lots of trees then behind me, and I just said it was woods.
Yeah.
And then I met the Center for Heirs Property.
Yes.
And
Wonderful organization.
learned how to think about it in a different way.
Yeah.
Started to think about what my land ethic was. So what we eventually did was plant trees.
Right.
And then I didn't have woods anymore. I had forest.
How many acres do you have of forest land?
We have about 264 acres of forest land. In the plan, we look at when to thin it,
Yes.
when to clear cut it, and when to go on and replant. So this was the first of our efforts, and we have about 6 stands, so we have a lot of work to do. As you get into it, you find that there's even more. Not only did we plant trees, but then we looking out for wildlife, so we left acreage specifically for that, which is also income. We lease for hunting, and there are people out here looking for somewhere to hunt. People are looking for acreage to plant.
So what the center has done is we've helped landowners have an aha moment, that they recognize the value that is contained within the land, and then we're connecting them to the proper tools.
The economic impact of forestry in our state is #1 among the manufacturing industry. It provides 90,000 jobs and a payroll of over $2.4 billion.
Those tools come from a wide range of groups, both nonprofits and government agencies that have come together to create the Sustainable Forestry and African American Land Retention Program.
One of the goals with the Sustainable Forestry Program is to provide the education piece that shows why we are doing what we're doing.
Scores of farmers throughout the South are being helped by this partnership between the U.S. Endowment for Forestry and Communities and 2 U.S. Department of Agriculture agencies, the Forest Service and the Natural Resources Conservation Service. It may sound like alphabet soup, but it adds up to one mighty powerful mission.
And by the end of the day, we hope that you should have enough information and knowledge that you can make some decisions on what to do.
So it's just a fantastic program, and it helped people to get an understanding that the land they have is more than a liability. And now they have something that is income generating.
And what I think is so wonderful about this program, Chief, is that it's all about keeping families on the land and keeping the land in families.
That's a very, very powerful thing. Growing up on a family farm myself, I mean, I get it. Yeah. And this community of folks that have transitioned from not having an appreciation for the wealth that they had that they were unaware of, now they value it. Yeah. And it's their land. You know, don't touch my land because this is my land. And they have such a sense of pride and ownership. And that transcends into a stronger families. Yeah. That's my belief anyway. It's a stronger families and stronger communities and ultimately a stronger country.
Well, I owe a great debt of gratitude to NRCS and the South Carolina Forestry Commission. I partnered up with them, and I understand now the value of land. As you can see, the trees have kind of taken on its own now, and look at that one. That thing is about maybe 10, 12 feet almost. Yeah, this is what we call a happy tree.
I remember looking back over your stewardship plan, you know, timber income was your highest priority.
Right.
Typically, and at least in this particular area of the world, loblolly will make you a little bit more money than longleaf will.
It's all genetics. You know, all these trees are probably second generation improved loblolly pine, but they're still, it's all about genetics. And you can see across the way, like I say, you will see some trees are probably 10 foot tall or taller. And then you're gonna have some closer to the 6, and then some even shorter, maybe 4.
Sure.
So it's all depend on where they were planted, how they were planted, and so forth. And you look at all the grasses out here.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that we've talked about before that you have to do is maintain your fire breaks down both sides and across the back. And always make sure your fire breaks are maintained annually.
Schulerville, South Carolina is where Mary Hill, another landowner who's benefited from the Sustainable Forestry and African American Land Retention Program, is tending her forest. This land has been in her family since the 1860s.
We own approximately 114 acres in 4 different tracts. The story is that after slavery, ending of slavery, the master gave to my husband's great-grandfather this tract for years after my husband passed away. I wondered what we could do with this land to make it more profitable for us. It was just sitting there barren. After your timber has been harvested, then they will offer you a program to replant your forest land. And then, of course, in the next 15 or 20 years, you will have more trees and you will be able to sell your timber and realize a profit from that. And then hopefully it will go on and on.
It wasn't always easy developing trust between landowners and the agencies. It took time to build these relationships.
So they went to these communities and let them know that, you know, we're private, we're not the government if you have the fear of the government. So that piece came together, and so it was a matter of helping them to understand that there's value associated with that land for which they own. Right. Many of them saw it only as a liability, which means that anybody that drives down the road that offer them what seemed to be a good dollar, they were ready to take that dollar and lose the opportunity to make improvements that benefits themselves and their families. So the endowment clearing all it up for them showed them that you can actually manage this in a way that it provides a revenue stream for you and your family.
At first, I did not have trust in the program because so many folk have lost their property to the government and all. But when I saw other folk from the community joining the program and it was successful for them, then I figured it was the right thing for me as well. So I joined the program, and it's been the best thing that has ever happened to me, I think.
With all of that experience around the issue of forestry, but also the resources to help landowners implement these conservation practices, was the game changer.
It's been a blessing to a lot of other folk and to me.
So, Ms. Hill, what we're going to do is I'm going to dig a little bit of the soil out to see if it's suitable for longleaf pine or loblolly pine planting over here. Okay. So let me get a little bit of the soil out and we'll look. And At the top, it's a little bit sandy. It's got some brown, so it's not too bad, but you can feel the moisture in the soil, right?
It's been an educational thing to work with the trees. We've already cut the timber on the property, and then now to know some 18 to 20 years later, we'll be able to profit again, so it keeps growing over and over and over.
Okay, one more time. Ooh, there we go. Okay, wait till you feel this. If you feel now, see how heavy clay that is?
Oh, yes.
Squeeze, it's a lot heavier soil. It's definitely more, it can make a ribbon. It's definitely suited for loblolly pines.
So you've got low-income individuals owning the asset. If they receive some tools, could help them move out of poverty. So it's a win-win situation. Everybody is benefiting, and on top of that, we're also improving upon the environment.
As a tree farmer myself, there's one thing that I know for certain, and that is that the vision you have for your land is a long-term vision, so that the seedlings that take sprout today, you may not harvest in your lifetime or even your children's lifetime. It's something to be passed along to future generations. You just want the lower branches, right?
Just the lower branches. And the bush hog will come through again, and we'll take off a few of those.
But I want you to remember now, when this tree gets big, Chuck did this.
Chuck did this. I will put a sign. This is a Chuck tree.
Chuck tree.
But you know, one of the things, I planted some of them, my one-year-old grandson, soon to be 1 year old, I planted some that's going to grow right along with him.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's looking good, Chuck. You can take that last one out right there.
I tell other landowners, it's our time. It's our time. People of color, typically, we're not involved in the forestry arena. Now, we can look back on that and we can wring our hands and say how terrible it has been and say, woe is me, but I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I'm enjoying today and I'm looking forward to tomorrow. So yes, this tree farm industry is here to stay. It's a sustainable economic engine.
That's my boy right there. Go ahead and sit for me, boy. Sit, buddy, sit. That's a good boy.
One has to have a long-term vision. I have trees planted just shy under 3 years. I cannot go out and harvest them right now unless I just want to harvest sticks. But I hope to live to be in my 90s. And so I would see the first thinning of these trees we planted. But after that, I have 3 grown children, 1 grandson. So you guys, it's yours. I'm enjoying life. I am a very, very fortunate, very, very happy man.
So it's good to be a doctor, be a dentist, and whatever, and air conditioning, refrigeration. But it's good to also know about your trees.
It's good to be a tree farmer.
That's good to be a tree farmer. All right,
So,
man.
From
It's
one to another.
I tell you.
What a pleasure.
I tell you.
Happy to have learned that managing the forest will then give it some longevity, and looking forward to the future for the next generations coming behind us.
Those next generations are pitching in already. Mary Hill has enlisted the help of her son and grandchildren to plant and care for her trees. Okay, here we are. All right, y'all ready? Here we go.
We're gonna plant some trees.
Yeah, man. Trey's gonna take the trees and he's gonna show y'all how to put the tree in the ground, okay? We got a good spot right here. Got to make us a hole.
We're gonna take the seedling and we're gonna tap it on here so it breaks the plug loose. And we're gonna pull it out and put it right in that hole. You wanna put it in the hole?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Good job.
Good job indeed. All right, now we gotta tighten it up. Jennifer needs to plant one. All right, okay. Perfect. Woo, you're a good tree planter.
My turn.
I don't have funds to leave my grandchildren, but at least I feel good in knowing that I will be able to leave them the trees and they will profit from harvesting the trees. It's a long-range thing.
Good job. Jennifer, how old are you?
6.
You're 6?
4.
Jonathan's 4. Now, these seeds are just maybe 2 years old, and I would say in 3 years they'll be as tall as you, and then in 5 years they're going to be way taller than you, And then in 15 years, what do you think, Trey?
Probably 30 feet.
30 feet? Wow. So maybe by the time you guys get to be adults, you can come back here and look at these trees and you'll have a brand new forest. What do you think?
Yeah.
Pretty cool,
So
pretty cool.
can we want some more?
Oh, I'm so excited because these are my grandchildren, and these are the future farmers of the Oak Hill.
The past will never be forgotten in the forests of South Carolina, but the future is filled with promise. The trees planted today will sustain generations to come, and it's a good feeling. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you'll join us on the next episode of America's Forests with me, Chuck Leavell. In the meantime, enjoy the woods and enjoy the music.